Hello, this is enhancement theory number 4, and what I would like to start out with enhancement theory number 4 is the crop tool. What we're going to cover here is the crop tool and the spot removal, or what you guys might know as a cloning tool here. So I have a group of demo images here. This is way more than we really need, but just to kind of give us an idea in terms of what we can do with the image. So I'm going to kind of put our concentration right now on the crop tool first and go over a few things. So I'm going to start out here with this airplane window picture. And again, every single picture that you brought in to play around with these specific tools is going to require your cumulative knowledge. That means that you always need to adjust the basic first and make sure the image looks good before you do anything else to it. So I'm going to go ahead and play around here with the tones, the shadows a little bit, and maybe perhaps a little bit with the white balance to get the mountain range outside looking pretty good there. Let's say I like this, and I can probably push the tone a little bit more, make it a little bit brighter at the same time. Let's see if I can get this looking decent here, warm it up a little bit more. Okay, let's say I like this one where it is. For this image here, if I look at the composition, it probably does not deserve to be a horizontal, almost 4x6 image. So let's take a look at the crop tool for a second. So if I actually click on right below the histogram here, development module, these are our localized adjustment tool. I start with the crop tool, the spot removal tool, red eye removal tool, graduated filter, and the brush. For our concentration right now, we will work on the crop tool and the spot removal tool. Okay, so the crop tool, this tool is called crop and straighten. You have a few things here to notice. It crops by aspect, okay? So that means that this is on original aspect ratio right now, which your camera shoots, an aspect ratio of 2 to 3 or 4x6 and 8x12 and so forth, so you can kind of see here. So what I have here is the original. You can pick the different aspect ratio. For example, 1:1 would make this square. 4:5 is actually the same aspect ratio as an 8:10. You have 8.5:11, 5:7, 2:3, 4:6. This would also be 8:12 as well. So just something to think about there. Okay, so Lightroom will always crop your images to aspect ratio. It doesn't crop to pixels. What that means is, let's say I select 4:5, 8:10. If I have this image crop right here, this is just the aspect ratio what it will crop to. I need to control the output of my file so that the longest edge that I'm exporting is 8:10 in order to get an 8:10 image. And I'll explain that when I'm done with all the crop tool dialogues here. Next one is the angle. What we can do is manually dial this in to straighten up our image. We can also click on here and get a ruler tool, as you can see here, and straighten out our image that way. Or the other thing is to really just pay attention to the canvas we have. If we have our cursor on the anchor, as you see here, it becomes a straight edge line right there. That means if I click on this, I would change the direction of the crop pretty much just horizontally or vertically. But if I move my mouse out a little bit further, it becomes that little curved double arrow, which allows me to kind of rotate the canvas, which is rather cool, as you can kind of see here. Okay, versus I'm going to go ahead and undo that, versus this where I'm just really bringing the in and out the image like so. A couple things to note here is we have that little lock thing. That little lock thing denotes that your aspect ratio is being locked, so just watch. As I change this, I can't really pull the aspect ratio that much more than I already have. It's locked to 4:5, 8:10. If I uncheck that, watch, I can really now come in and freehand crop whatever I like, as you can kind of see here, that you can't do before. Okay, so that's kind of the case with that tool. In this case, I would say this image is probably a best if we crop it square like so. So I'm going to go ahead and crop it 1:1 and just leave it like that. So I'm pretty much done with this image right here. Moving on to the next image, I have a picture here of a wall with payphones. These are hard to come by nowadays. With modern technology such as cell phones and so forth, who use these things anymore, right? Anyways, let's kind of adjust this, white balance wise, color and so forth, and just play around with this. Okay. I think we got something good here. Let's go to the crop tool. Once I click on the crop tool, I'll pull up the crop line. It seems like things are pretty straight here. What I can also do is again click on the angle tool, and let's play around with this a little bit. Let's try to straighten this out just a touch more. You can kind of see there it just rotates a little bit. I'll show you that again. So what you need to do is click on that little ruler. Come out to the image and just find a straight line image. It can be horizontal or vertical. In this case, I'm going to use the bottom of the orange line. I'm just going to go ahead and click and align my cursor to the bottom of it. Drag it some distance, like so. Let my cursor go, and Lightroom automatically crops it for me to the right angle with the right precision that I want. So that's really neat as well. Okay, I have the lock here unlocked, and what I'm going to do in this case is just kind of focus our concentration by grabbing the top and the bottom anchor a little bit and just making this wall really about the 4 phones instead of everything else, the floor and the wires and so forth that were with it. So just to kind of simplify what we've done here. Here's the last shot, what I'm going to show you with the crop tool. And again, what we can do here is come click on the ruler. I'm going to use the top of these balconies on the 2nd floor here. Click on it. Drag it out like so. We're going to strain out this image right here. Let go. And Lightroom automatically straighten my image like so. Can also go ahead and move things around by hand if I want to, still by moving out further beyond the edge and just clicking, holding my mouse and moving things like this. It kind of gets rather confusing after a while of playing around, so just kind of maybe you just need to reset and recrop and so forth. And that's kind of pretty much. Let's say if your crop here, once you play around rotating too much, sometimes it doesn't extend to the edge. You can always come and just click and just drag the edge out as much as you can right there. Okay, so depending if you want to show more of the top or the bottom here, you can grab on the image and just kind of move it around to what you see fit. In this case, let's say I'm going to do one more thing. I want this image to be cropped in 5:7 aspect ratio because I want to print this one small. I can do that as well, and if you notice here, my lines are still straight because it has already been straightening with the angles, as you can see here. What I'm really doing right now is just changing the aspect ratio. Okay, I'm going to press enter right there, and now I have a file that's ready to go to 5:7, sort of. So let's say I want to export this file to a 5:7 kind of file. I would go into File, Export. And you have many different options here to export. So starting from the top, we're going to make sure we have the export set to hard drive. And when it says export to specific folder, we're going to go ahead and click here onto, well, we're going to use specific folder in this case. We're going to have you go and click on choose. And just go ahead and find your hard drive, and you can create another folder here. Oops, excuse me. Right, create another folder here on your hard drive for whatever assignment or wherever you want to go to and export your files. And so forth. We're going to leave the file name the same in this case. Skip the video setting. So the next one is the file setting. This is where you would look at the file settings that you have in terms of you want a JPEG, does your lab require JPEG, or any other type of file format, what's the quality of it, and what color space. And most importantly, when you really define the size of the files, when you come in here under image sizing, you click on resize to fit, you click on the drop down list, click on long edge, type in 10 inches, like so, set the right resolution, and click on export. When this file goes out, it's going to have the proper resolution in terms of pixels per inch, and the longest side of this file will only be 10 inches, properly fit for you to print an 8:10 image out of in this case. Or 5:7 or whatever size of crop that you define it to. For a square crop right here, if you notice the crop that we were doing, it says 1:1. It doesn't specify a size. So with this one, when you go and click on File Export, you can really set the long edge. So if you want to have a 10:10 inch image, you just set that one to 10. If you want to have something else, you can set it to something else as well. So that's pretty much the export dialog briefly, along with the using the crop tool to kind of work with our image. I'm going to actually create another episode of recording to govern, to kind of show you the spot removal tool. So go ahead and kind of check the other video out as well, okay?